Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is March 23rd, 2023, and we are getting into volume 39 of me answering your immigration questions and your comments. As you can see, I have all of them open in front of me. Before I begin, as always, I'm going to mention, just like I mention in every single video I make on this channel, I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information that I provide in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website, and of course the Department of State. So with that being said, let's begin with the very first comment from Mibako Coco, and I'm, by the way, very sorry if I am mispronouncing your names. Heartbreaking comment on the visa bulletin April 2023 that I have posted just today, and I know unfortunately there was absolutely no movement. In fact, it got worse. So if you haven't seen, if you have a family immigration petition going, if it's in the process, visa bulletin, you really need to stay on top of it, and I just posted it today, the April 2023 update. Unfortunately, there was no movement, like I said. In fact, one of the categories actually got worse. It's showing now the backlog. It used to show current in March 2023, and now in April 2023 it's showing the backlog. It is very heartbreaking. Unfortunately, I did not deliver the good news. A lot of times I try to be uplifting and a lot of give hope to people, but this is not very good, unfortunately, and I'm very sorry about that. But with this, if we can raise awareness, the more people know about this, the better. So hopefully this will bring some awareness to people who are not aware, and with awareness usually it comes attention, and with attention something is usually happens, hopefully. So I'm very sorry to everyone for bad news. Moving further to Monica Pierre, how long must wait to get an interview? I'm in the F1. So F1 priority category is unmarried sons and daughters over 21 of US citizens. And if you look at I have the visa bulletin open in front of me from April 2023 that just came out yesterday. It's the most recent, the most updated information that you can find. So let's see what was the initial. So Monica Pierre, okay, so good day, why the visa bulletin in 2016, where is 2015? Okay, so whenever it comes to the F1 category, if we look at the dates for filing, which is the date when you received the very first receipt from USCIS, not from the NVC, not from the Department of State, but from USCIS. So as soon as you submit that I-130 petition, when USCIS accepts it, they send you the very first notice. It's called notice of receipt. The date on the notice of receipt from USCIS is going to be the graph B. So the people that have submitted in F1 category back in August 2016, as of April 2023, the immigrant visas are just now becoming available for people that have filed back in August 2016, which is the delay, the backlog of about 7 years, roughly, about 7 years. Which means that if you have submitted in 2020, if it's the same backlog, if it's still 7 years, if things do not speed up and do not slow down, you're looking at about 2027 for the immigrant visa to become available for F1 category. If you submitted as of right now in 2023, again, if things don't move faster or slower, still 7 years delay, about 2030, the immigrant visa becomes available. It's a huge backlog, especially considering that it is U.S. citizen inviting their sons or daughters. Yes, okay, they are over 21, unmarried, but still, that's sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. And still there is a 7 years. And 7 years, it's just a backlog for the visas. There's also the processing on USCIS side. There's also the processing on the NVC side. There's also the scheduling of the interview with the U.S. Embassy. So there's a lot of other things involved. So it's not just this waiting, basically, for the immigrant visa to become available. So about 7 years, unfortunately, Monica. And again, I really wish I could give you better news, but this is not looking good. All right, let's move further to Sarbjit Chawla, and I'm very sorry again if I'm mispronouncing. F4 India not moving from last 1 year. May I know why? So the reason why these things And again, it's really hard to pinpoint one specific reason why this backlog is not moving along, because you would think that as time goes by, more immigrant visas are becoming available and things should be moving along. But here are a few reasons that I can give you as of right now. First of all, why there is the backlog in general? Well, the reason why there is the backlog is because the number of the immigrant visas that are issued each year is limited. There is a cap on the amount of immigrant visas that can be issued for certain categories. And those categories can be found here. F1, second priority category F2A and F2B, third priority category F3, and the fourth priority category F4. So for these, as you can see, there's the numbers here, specific numbers. These are the numbers of visas that are issued each year, and then there is a play with the percentage. If a certain category is not filled, certain percentage can go to another category. If you really want to dig, deeper into it, you can. But really, as long as you can navigate by these numbers, this is more than enough to kind of give you the estimation. Honestly, the reason why I do not like to dig into these numbers, because to me these numbers are just, it was a dumb idea from the beginning, and it is still a dumb idea. There shouldn't be any numbers. If a US citizen is bringing someone who went through the immigration process legally, did the background checks, did the courts, did the interviews, did all the medical examinations, and got there, finally became naturalized, and they're inviting their son or daughter or brother or sister or whoever they're inviting in their family to come here and again go through all this legal procedure, pay all the fees, establish this. Because think about this, whenever you are inviting someone, whenever you're petitioning for your relative, you are showing the US government that you are fully responsible financially for that beneficiary that you're bringing into the US. You are becoming a sponsor. If your income is not enough, then you have to find a joint sponsor. So you are responsible for the beneficiary, not the government. So why is it the government that has a say in limiting how many people can legally come into? It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous from the beginning. It is still ridiculous. That's one of the reasons why there is a backlog, because there is this ridiculous cap on these visas. Another reason, obviously, the things that are happening along, like a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever, we had this whole ridiculous situation with this pandemic, right? They were not processing any of these applications at all. They were not issuing any of the visas. So on top of the existing backlog, obviously there was another reason for the backlog. So there's a lot of reasons to it, and if you try to understand all of them, you get lost in this bureaucracy of the government. Personally, I think it is not fair. I don't know, maybe out there somebody thinks that this is okay and this is fair for so it really is. Yeah, I don't know. To me, this is just ridiculous. There shouldn't be any weight at all. If you're doing everything legally, if you're paying all the fees, you're going through the background checks, you're going through the medical examination, you have the person coming in, and they're legal. They're going to be living here. They're going to be working legally. They're going to be paying taxes. There is no criminal history that they have because the background check was already done. They don't have any medical problems because they already did the medical examination, all these vaccinations that they had to do and to come here. And yet it's just, it's ridiculous. And I can personally relate because I have a petition that I'm waiting for. Okay, moving further to Marveline Needham. I'm citizen and want to file for my married daughter and her husband. Okay, so if you're filing, so you're a US citizen, if you're filing for married sons and daughters, that would be a category F3, as you can see, married sons and daughters of US citizens. And currently on the F3 category, there is a backlog of, 2008, and now we are in 2023. So that is, instead of relying on my horrible math skills, I'm gonna grab my calculator and we're gonna 2003 minus 2008, 15 years. So there's a backlog right now on the F3 category of 15 years, which means that if you file today, as of today, and that's actually, I'm looking at the documentarily qualified dates. So we should be looking at the dates of filing because you're just now starting the case. But it's roughly about the same, about 15 years. So here is actually a little bit more. So I would recommend filing it as soon as possible, as of right now. And in general, people are probably watching this and wondering, okay, like for example, Marveline. So obviously with a 15-year backlog, it's ridiculous. It's crazy, right? What? I'm not gonna see my daughter. I'm a U.S. citizen and I cannot see my daughter for 15 years. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. So what I would recommend doing is you start this I-130 petition as soon as possible. Just start it as soon as possible so that time that you have to wait for the immigrant visa to become available, it starts now, really today, and you don't have to delay it anymore. And while this is while you're waiting, while this is in the process, then you invite your daughter on a non-immigrant visa, B1, B2, B2 visitor for pleasure, so that at least she can come here and she can visit you. That would be the best case scenario for anyone out there who is looking at these crazy numbers and realizing how long it takes as an option, all right? So that at least you can reunite, maybe not live together, but at least there is a time together that you can spend and she can travel back and forth. Because as a US citizen, you shouldn't have, technically, if the US embassy in the country where you're inviting your relative from, if it's not one of those countries where, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody, the country where I'm from is one of those countries where it's really, really hard to get a non-immigrant tourist visa. It's really hard to get a tourist visa. So even if I'm inviting someone as a US citizen, there is a very high chance that this visa will be denied. But there are countries where it is easier to get the non-immigrant visa. And if that's the case for you, that would be the best case scenario, so that, at least you guys can see each other. All right, let's move on to the next one from Noreen Azam. My daughter applied for our green card in October 2021. We are in US. That's great. We got a RFE, which is a request for evidence in my name, asking for something, which they said will be get by mail. And then after a month got an email for my medical, which is done now and sent by my husband. Is still waiting for an email, but about his medical. Can you please tell what to do? Okay, so that is normal. I wouldn't worry about that too much, Noreen. Whenever it comes to scheduling the medical examination, scheduling the interview, a lot of times you will have the difference between, because whenever it comes to petitions, the I-130 petitions, they are submitted separately, all right? So if, let's say, if I'm petitioning for both of my parents, I'm submitting a separate I-130 petition for my mom. I'm submitting a separate I-130 petition for my dad. Now, yes, of course, both of these petitions are going to the same processing center, right? So technically, they should be processed about the same time. But because these are two separate petitions, there can be, and it can be a pretty substantial difference between the two as well. One is sent to the NVC a little bit faster than the other one. The one is, the medical is scheduled a little bit sooner than the other one. The interview is scheduled on a different date than the other one. It's on and off. In some cases, it is on the same date, and you can actually schedule the interview on the same date. But if it's the case where there is a separate date scheduled for an interview, for a medical, don't stress out about that too much, because at the end of the day, these are two separate petitions at the end of the day, and they are processed separately. That's why you have a separate NVC portal for your mom and a separate NVC portal for dad, where you go when you submit all the information here and pretty much the same information there. So let's see, apply for a green card back in October 2021. So whenever it comes to, let's see, my daughter applied for a green card. Okay, so you are, if your daughter applied for you, it means your daughter is a U.S. citizen. So as a U.S. citizen, inviting parents on a huge plus side for you is that you don't have any visa cap for your category. There is no visa cap whenever it comes to parents of US citizens, which means once the NVC is documentarily qualified, the immigrant visa is already available. Now, it doesn't mean that there will still be delay, because if you look at the visa bulletin, does not apply to you for the most part, but even with the categories like F2A, spouses and children of permanent residents, even though these visas are supposedly current, meaning that there is no cap, so as soon as they are documentarily qualified, the visa should be available, there is still a delay in the processing. There's still a backlog of about 3 years on them. So with your case, 2021, roughly you're probably gonna be waiting another about 6 months to a year. That would be normal, because there is a delay in the processing. Now again, like I've answered previously in the previous comment, this delay, it's most likely, this particular delay in this particular category is most likely because of the pandemic, that for 2 years, for a year and a half, I think there was absolutely no visas issued, and obviously this year and a half, it created a huge backlog, even for the categories that do not have any cap. But at least you're here in the United States, and that is already a huge plus, because you don't have to be waiting for all of that from outside of the United States, hoping to see your daughter, and nothing is happening. All right, let's move on to the next one from Zara Kazimi. Hi, sir. Thank you so much. You're very welcome, Zara. Thank you for watching. Got the question from Zara. Hello, sir. I'm citizen USA. My daughter is over 21, married, from Iran, and I applied for them on May 2017. Please help me. What can I do to speed up my process, and how long waiting? Okay, so let me try to estimate how long approximately waiting. So applied in May 2017. I will assume that the petition I-130 was submitted in 2017. Daughter is over 21 and married, so she will be in the category F3, married sons and daughters of US citizens. So F3 category, as we looked at the dates of filing, November 2009. So the petitions that have been submitted in the F3 category back in November 2009, the immigrant visas are becoming available just now in April 2023, around this time. All right, that means that there is 14 years. There's about 14 years delay, backlog on the issuance of immigrant visas for F3 category. So 14 years, and you have submitted in 2017. So we're gonna do 2017 plus 14, and that's a very rough estimate. So you're looking at about 2031. So rough estimate for you is about around 2031 for the immigrant visa to become available for your daughter. Now, why is it a rough estimate? Because every month things change. For example, between April and March 2023, and I actually done just video today, I have uploaded it, so if you have a chance, if you have time, check it out. It's this video right here, Visa Bulletin April 2023. I've just uploaded it today. So basically, every month there is a brand new visa bulletin that comes out from the Department of State showing the backlog and if the things moved or not. So ideally, you are looking at, if you're checking it every month, there is by month, at least by month, things speed up, right? Unfortunately, between March and April 2023, there wasn't any movement on any of the categories except F2A, and in this F2A category for documentarily qualified cases, there is now backlog here, because before, in March 2023 visa bulletin, it was showing current, all right? Now they're showing backlog. So it's obviously rough estimate, because in the next however many years, 14 years, or now that you already waited from 2017, so now it's less time, but during this time that you are waiting for that visa, for the immigrant visa to become available, things might speed up, and hopefully they will. Everybody's hoping that they speed up, but they can also slow down or stay in place. That's why it's really a rough estimate. That's why it's really important to understand visa bulletin. And that's one of the reasons why on this channel, every month, a new visa bulletin that will come out. I'm gonna make a video discussing all these dates. these graphs explaining again and again the categories, the chargeability areas, and all that stuff, because it really is important to understand. So I hope I was able to answer your question. It's not a very good answer, honestly. It's not a very positive answer. So I would add, again, like I added to, who did I tell? Oh, Marvaline, I think. I would recommend the same thing to you, Zara. If you can get, you just send the invitation to your daughter, to her whole family. Say, hey, I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm inviting my daughter to come and visit me. Non-immigrant, B2 visa, just a visitor for pleasure. It doesn't solve any problems. She won't be able to stay here and live here, but at least this distance, she will be able to come and spend time with her mother. All right, let's move on to the next one from That Was New. How long take time to bring an under 18 years unmarried son to the US? I just got it, green card from Asia. Okay, I think there's another one. Can I bring my son? So he is 18 years running. I have green card. Any advice, please? Okay, so yes, I'm gonna answer with the second question. Yes, you can, and congratulations, by the way, on your green card. So to estimate the process, now there is no visa cap, like I've been mentioning in my previous replies, for anyone, for sons and daughters of U.S. citizens and permanent residents under 21. However, there is some processing difference. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to demonstrate some navigation on USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services official government website. We're going to go into tools. We're going to go into case status online. And then we're going to scroll down and we're going to click on USCIS processing times information. And I'm sure there's an easier way to get to it, but this is just how I'm used to it, and stick to what you're used to. It makes it much easier. So we're going to select in the form I-130. That's petition for alien relative. This is what you will be using. Now you commented on the family immigration process from start to finish, so you already briefly understand what it entails. Next video I would recommend to check out is where I've done it recently, probably like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, and updated step by step on how to fill out that form I-130. It's available here on the official government website, USCIS. If you go to forms, search for a form I-130, and it is available to file it online. So there you go, you can find the instruction, the fees, everything. And then from here, you can file this form. I recommend doing it as soon as possible. So now let's go to the processing times to answer your question, how long approximately will take. Now the category is going to be permanent resident, filing for a spouse or child under 21, which is in your case. And then here you will select the service center. Now, to figure out which service center you are going to be sending your application to, you will have to do some research and actually dig into the instructions of this. You can find it here. It's not that complicated. It will depend on in which state you live. So let's say if you live, for example, in Florida, you will be sending it, I'm pretty sure it's to Texas Service Center. If you live in California, I think you're sending it to California Service Center. So you get the point. But roughly, to estimate between we're going to do all field service offices, all field offices. And roughly, as you can see, 46 months. Again, it's rough. It's rough estimate because it's only 80% of cases. So you might be a little bit faster, you might be a little bit slower, but still, this is almost 4 years. So that's why I said, file this I-130 petition as soon as possible to start this process. You definitely want to do that because it does take some time. Once it is approved with USCIS, all right, it is transferred to the NVC for further processing. And once it is approved by the NVC, documentarily qualified, then it's sent to the local U.S. Embassy for the interview for your son. So the sooner you do it, especially because your son is already 18, you don't want him to age out of the category. So the sooner you do it, the better. All right, so hopefully I was able to answer your question. We're going to move on to the next one from Curly Dog. Let me just really quickly post this. Okay. You said if it's public, what if my social media account is private and it's not in my name, just my nickname? Okay, Curly Dog, thank you for a follow-up question. So the original question from Curly Dog was basically that if you have the asylum application, right? You're submitting the asylum application. What kind of information does the USCIS asylum office, the field office, the immigration officer that is reviewing the case, what kind of information, whenever it comes to social media, they have access to? And I said, if you have public profile, whatever information is there, whoever can see it, they can see it. And the curly dog asked a follow-up question, what if it's private? So my answer here is whatever anybody, right? If let's say me right now, I'm not part of the government. I don't have any kind of special privileges, any kind of special access. What I can do a research on you, right? If I have your name, if I have your phone number, if I have your address, if I have your social security number, if you have it, whatever information that I would have about you, and I would go online and I would Google using that information, whatever information that would come up, social media posts, if they are public, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, maybe something on YouTube, something in LinkedIn, something MySpace, I don't know, whatever comes up from my just open search is the same information that for the most part the immigration officers they have whenever they do the research on their end. They, for the most part, they don't have any kind of special privileges. Like, for example, if you have a private Facebook account, there is no way for them to get in through their own avenue. But with that being said, you still have to realize that you're dealing with the government. So just because they say that they don't have any kind of special access to whatever is private, I wouldn't 100% rely on that information and say, oh, okay, so if my private account, I can they don't have access to it. There's a chance for sure that they do have access, but like I said, according to the official sources coming again from the government, they don't have anything. Whenever it comes to immigration processing, immigration cases, they don't have anything beyond regular persons like myself capability of doing a research on someone. Okay, so keep that in mind. Hopefully that helps. Let's move on to the next one from Bhagwati Sahadeo. Probably mispronounced the name. I'm very sorry about that. My case was for review on the 17th January 2023. Since then, I have not heard anything as yet. Why? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a follow-up question, Bhagwati. So I-130, all right, processing. Is it processing with USCIS or is it processing with NVC? If you are, if it's still with USCIS, then you can check the case status here on official USCIS.gov government website. Just put in the receipt number right here and it will give you not much information. Most likely it will be just like, hey, we're processing your case for the most part. But if you really want better estimates in general, let me know which category you're petitioning for, which country you're petitioning for, chargeability area, and also when the initial application, I-130 application, was received by USCIS. Because with that information, then I can look at the visa bulletin, I can look at the USCIS processing times, and kind of give you better estimates. Just because your case was being processed on January 2023, it's still in review, so it wasn't really approved, and I'm not sure if it was approved by USCIS or NVC. I definitely do need more information. But if it's still processing with USCIS, you can definitely check the processing times. And if they are outside, let's say, for example, in my previous answer to that was new, I was talking about 46 months for the legal permanent resident inviting their spouse or children under 21. So if you are in the same category, right? And your service center, let's say California Service Center, is showing 46 months. If you are now waiting for 48 months and it's still showing in review, then you can submit that inquiry with USCIS. And I would highly recommend doing that. But again, if you could follow up with a little bit more information, that would be more helpful and I would be doing a little bit better job answering your question. All right, let's move on to the very last question for this particular volume. I'm gonna address everything else that I have, and I do have some more questions in the next volume. But let's Haptamu Tafa. Hello again. Thank you for the initial response and perfect name pronunciation. I'm glad. Thank you for letting me know. I did not submit 3 separate I-130 forms, just my mom's. I thought since they were under 21, I wasn't required, but I did mention she had 2 children in my mom's I-130 before it was approved. Now, is it too late to apply for the visitor visa for them since they didn't do the forms for them? If not, any other alternatives? I just don't want them to be left alone back home. I definitely understand that. Last thing, can my mom apply for them as soon as she gets lands here? Or does she have to wait until she becomes a citizen to apply to bring them? Their age is my concern. Thank you for all you do. Well, you're very welcome, Haptamu, and thank you for a follow-up question and clarifying some of the information. So yes, whenever it comes to the I-130 petition, you have to submit an I-130 for each individual that you're inviting. So let's say you're inviting parents, you're submitting it for your mom, and a separate I-130 for your dad. 2 separate applications, completely. Yes, you will be putting your dad's information in your mom's petition, obviously, because it's a spouse. And the same for your dad. But it's going to be different, 2 separate petitions, all right? So here is a few options. Here are a few options that you can do. If you submit, well, it is your stepsisters, right? So it's your stepsisters, and you are U.S. citizen, obviously, because you're filing for your mother. And the only ones who can file legal permanent residence, they cannot apply for, they cannot petition for their parents. So you're your citizen inviting your mother. They are your stepsisters. So for siblings, U.S. citizen can also petition for siblings. So you can definitely submit that I-130 petition for both your stepsisters, all right? But here are a few other options that you have. Because if you petition for your stepsisters, then they are falling into the category F4, which is brothers and sisters of adult U.S. citizens, which is ridiculous wait time. It's longer than anybody else. However, you kind of mentioned this option already yourself. Once your mom comes here, because she will have that I-551. Once she goes for the interview, the very final interview at the U.S. Embassy, once she gets that immigrant visa, I-551, it's a stamp. Once she comes here into the United States, this stamp, this visa, automatically becomes temporary permanent resident card. So she comes into the country already as a legal permanent resident, just with a temporary permanent resident card. So within like 90 days, if all the fees were paid, if you paid everything in the NVC portal, within 90 days, she will receive her actual green card, which means that as soon as she comes into the country, immediately she can submit that petition as a legal permanent resident, petition for her daughters who are under 21 to come here, join her. And that's obviously a different category, the category that does not have any immigrant visa cap at all. It does not mean that you guys not going to be waiting for a while. You will be waiting for a while, unfortunately, because there's processing at USCIS, there's processing at NVC. You will be waiting, but you will be waiting way less, like 5 times less compared to you petitioning for your stepsisters. So I think it might have worked out better for you that way. It might be a better option. In the meantime, they can still apply for a non-immigrant visa to come here, and obviously, because you don't want to leave young girls by themselves, mother coming here. It's hard. It's a complicated situation. You don't want them to be there by themselves. But non-immigrant visa, it might seem like a temporary solution, so that at least they can come here and spend some time here with you, with your mother. Now, obviously, whenever it comes to the non-immigrant visas, like I said earlier, I don't remember who I was responding to, it's a hit and miss, because depending on the country, like my country where I'm from, it's really hard to get a non-immigrant visa. So most of the non-immigrant visas, they are denied. All right, you go for an interview, you pay the fee, you present all the documents, and then you are denied for no reason. But in some countries it's a little bit easier. So hopefully, you know, you're not dealing with one of those countries where US Embassy is just a little bit harsher, a little bit harder to get the non-immigrant visa from. But that seems to be like the most reasonable solution. Wait for your mom to come here, immediately petition for daughters, and then either you or your mom just sending them a regular invitation with which they go into the US Embassy and saying, hey, look, we have a stepbrother who is a US citizen, we have our mother who is a legal permanent resident, we just want to go and we want to visit, we want to see the country, we want to check it out, we want to spend some time with the stepbrother and our mother. So hopefully this was helpful. Haptamu, again, appreciate your follow-up, appreciate questions from everyone today. I'll probably end up making another video today for, you know, for the rest of the questions, because I do have some additional questions that I need to catch up on. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope this was helpful. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next video.